Seeing spiritually shifts entire kingdoms. I believe that simple active observation and reporting can change entire spiritual realms and kingdoms. When Julian Assange published the WikiLeaks documents, it was revolutionary. Suddenly, information was accessible. This was rightfully controversial, and yet it has still had an effect on how governments and structures went about how they did things. The way that he chose to share and report information, right or wrong, changed how information is shared today, and even changed things about how transparency works and privacy laws and etc. Information sharing in the natural changes things, but it also shifts things in the supernatural realms. So, in other words, access to information about the spiritual realm allows people to make different decisions and to understand that their choices might not be 100% in their influence. This has been my thought process, posting things online. Sharing information and basically publishing a little bit of a spiritual WikiLeaks with wisdom and caution and with Jesus, that this sharing actually will change it. And will change things and people and nations and realms. I live by the principle that spiritual information and the timing of its release should be governed by the voice of Jesus. I am a cautious sharer because information is powerful. I don't run straight to the internet with latest and greatest. I typically take a moment to sit back and ask even if things should be shared, if a thing should be made public. And I don't govern that decision. Why? Because information is powerful and it changes things. And there's a timing for certain things to be changed. But here's the thing. When the time comes, I don't choose to shrink back either. I believe that seeing something doesn't always mean that you should say something. And this is a very good rule of thumb for seers and people who are interested in the spiritual realm. Just because you have information does not mean you should throw it up on the internet. But there is also a positive side effect of observing and reporting spiritual activity. The activity itself will change simply because you shared it. A lot of people find seers and people that talk about the spiritual realm to be troublesome. And I find that a lot of times folks would prefer to pretend that spiritual activities do not exist. But I've found that pretending never helps. I've loved truth my whole life. I've loved to search it out. I've loved to find truth. Refusing to look at something that may be true will not change the situation. Refusing to look at spiritual information will not change that the information exists. But what we do with that spiritual information matters a lot. And it matters a lot because people are frequently not free. People are frequently in positions of powerlessness, lack of awareness, and are often entangled in things that would rather remain hidden. And as things are lifted forth and brought into the light, those situations and realms do change. There are principalities over regions, and it isn't just about tearing them down. Principalities carry with them lofty mindsets that raise themselves up against the knowledge of Christ. And a lot of times it's really more about getting the mindset out of people than it is about getting a principality out of town. Here's what I mean. Ephesians 6:12 says, that about wraps it up. God is strong and he wants you strong. So take everything the Master has set out for you, well-made weapons of the best materials, and put them to use so that you will be able to stand up to everything the devil throws your way. This is no weekend war that we'll walk away from and forget about in a couple of hours. This is for keeps. A life or death fight to the finish against the devil and all of his angels. This fight often looks like moving in a different spirit. It often looks like the fruits of the Spirit in Galatians 5. And it often looks like coming against mindsets that raise themselves up against the knowledge of Christ. If you are a person that has these observations about the spiritual realm, just know this: the way that you interact with these realms does change them. Sometimes people that see and sense in the spirit will self-gaslight and pretend that they don't, because the truth would be too inconvenient. And sometimes people who run across seers on the internet also would like to pretend the same thing. But the truth is that the way that we interact with these realms does change them. And I get into this a lot more in my online courses that touch on some things that we don't get into in YouTube comment sections. Good Lord. But I also talk about things that I think are super important, like how to hear God clearly and with peace. And so if you'd like that, there's more information below. I also have a free Substack with lots of info. But if you just enjoy this video, hit subscribe, keep watching. There's more where that came from.